Hey guys, Jerry. So today is Tuesday, and we're on this theme of personal growth. And one of the things I experienced recently, as I'm reading Crucial Conversations and watching a lot of TED Talks on Crucial Conversations, etc., is, and I was just talking to David Booz about this, is that many times people like myself and David, many times I'm offering my opinions when I'm talking to somebody. So the context of today's message is like listening. Like, many times people with my personality that I'm quick to speak and slow to listen, just offering my opinions, it's pretty obvious that people that are quick to speak have the reputation of not being good listeners. Whether you could argue whether we are or we aren't. And again, I'm talking to small business owners that if you're like me, that you have a reputation that you're quick to speak, then as a small business owner, as a leader, then I have the reputation that I'm not listening, that I'm not a great listener if I'm quick to speak. But I was just talking to Booz about this. I've got a couple guys on our staff that are really slow to speak. And the perception that many owners have, many perceptions that we may have of owners or leaders that are slow to speak is that they're really good listeners, right? Because they're slow to speak. Well, that's not necessarily true either, right? So I think of both camps. Like if you're quick to speak, then the perception is that you're not a good listener. That may not be completely true. And then conversely, if you're really slow to speak, then the perception is that you're a really good listener. And that's not necessarily true. And I won't name names, but I've had conversations with some of my guys that are really slow to speak. And I'll say things like, "What did you just hear me say?" And they'll pair it back. I'm like, "That's not what I said." And so they're sitting there, they're present, but they're really not listening. And so it is this idea of like, just because somebody's, like in my case, quick to speak, that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm not listening, although it's the perception. So what I was talking to David Booz about is perception's reality, right? So if I want to change my perception, it might not be completely true that I'm not a great listener, although it is likely, if you ask my wife. But if I want to change that perception, then what do I want to project? And David and I were just talking about journaling. Like when I'm engaged in a conversation, how do I do reflective listening? How do I create I actually want to listen. I want to be a better listener. And how do I make sure that I'm projecting that I'm actually listening? And so we'll get into this in the next couple of days, but it might be just clarifying statements, right? I heard you say these 3 or 4 things. So to clarify, is that what your point was? Clarifying questions, I think, are one tool that we can use to make sure that the other person knows that we're actually listening to them. So interesting topic for me.